Good evening, good evening, guys, and welcome back to the classroom. I can speak. Um, Tonight we're gonna talk about some organizational commands, and uh, these are very important for users of the AutoCAD environment because this allows us to um, perform micro adjustments on our drawing when we need to, and maybe revert them back to their original state or whatnot, because there's plenty of things that you can do with the commands that we will talk about in this session. However, we still have just 12 minutes and we shall see where this gets us. So let's head on over to the classroom where I have a, a circle with a slash uh, on top of it. Basically, it's a polyline and then a circle. So these are two different entities, and we will use them to display how some of the commands work, right? So timer starts, and then let's proceed. The first organizational command is properties, which uh, you can invoke with properties the entire uh, word, or else my more favored option with the MO shortcut. I believe that's short for modify, and it's very apt for this particular uh, palette here that appears. Okay, so what does the properties uh, palette show us? Basically, it's everything that has uh, that concerns whatever entity it is you will be holding at the moment. So right now we're holding nothing. That's why all of these are, some of them are gray, some are white, but basically they're talking about nothing. It says here no selection. So when we choose, for example, this line, we'll select it. It shows us the particular details about this line. So it has a vertex geometry of 1, and then has an x and a y um, indicated here, and it has a specific length attached to it. Now, if we reduce it somewhat, you can see that the properties change, and also the vertices change as well. We can see here that the color assignment for this line is by layer, and it's on the 0 layer. We can change almost everything on here and affect this particular line here. For example, let's change the color to red. So just drop that down, and then when you choose red, it applies the property change to your entity. And you can do that with almost anything here. You see, we even have thickness if we wanted to change that. But enough about the properties for now. The important thing to note is that when you want to change something within your drawing or understand something, you can just click on this and find out what it is that you need to know. And it differs depending on entity. Like this next entity is a circle, and it's generated differently. That's why we have a radius value and a diameter value. So for example, we wanted a specific diameter. We want it to be a 900 unit diameter. We can change it and everything follows suit. So, okay. Next organizational command we have is the layer, which is the second one here. The layer command is important. Let's just hide this out for now because it allows us to identify pieces of the drawing uh, into many layers. So let's invoke that right now. Layer is LA, and then floating palette comes up. And right now it shows that we have just one layer on our drawing, which is 0. And we can create uh, any number of layers, however many you want. You can just keep on clicking that and creating them. And you can just as easily delete them, of course, unless it has something on it where then it would say that um, there are elements within this layer and you might not want to delete that. So what can we do with a new layer? We can rename it, of course, to make sense. Let's uh, let's rename this. You can right click it for your context menu and rename the layer. Let's say this is the circle layer, or shall we say outer layer. When you're drawing in like if you're trying to use layers to make sense of your drawing, you need to name this appropriately and then color them differently so that you can identify it easier. For example, we want the outer layer to be blue. So right now, I click this color icon here and then it showed me the selector window. So let's say we want this color to be yellow. So the outer elements that will be generated on the outer layer will be inherently yellow and will have a continuous line type with a default line weight and all of these properties embedded onto them. Now, additional controls within this layer window is visibility here. See what that says. If it's turned on, if it's frozen. So when it's frozen, it looks like an ice crystal. If not, it's a sun. We have a layer lock. If we wanted to lock a layer so that no changes will happen to it. If it's a plottable layer. And then those are the main things. You can control them by this interface or this interface above here in the ribbon. But we'll stick with this for now. So whichever layer has the check is the layer that will be current. And when you're in the current layer, anything you draw will be on that layer. So I am in the outer layer right now, as you can see here above. If we draw something, for example, a rectangle, it automatically gets all its properties from that layer. Also, if you want to shift elements into a layer, you can also do that. You can do that by modifying the properties or selecting your entity and changing the layer from here. So this is one of the more direct methods of doing it. So you see we changed that, but it's still red. Why? Because we have assigned the color red to this entity specifically. Otherwise, if you want it to become yellow again, you can just change the color here to use the layer color, and hence we will have a yellow colored line as opposed to the red colored line. Next, we have Linetype Scale. Now, Linetype Scale is important because when you're drawing, you might want to use different line types to denote if something's hidden or something is a property line or something like that. These above here are called, these are the line types. So we have a color property, a thickness property, and then a line type property here. So you can see that right now there's only three, but you can just uh, load whatever line type you need, and then you can use that. So for example, we'll use let's use a dynamic one that we can see the change outright. So let's use this dash dot 2x. Okay, so right now we have a fourth line type that we can assign. We loaded that in. So for example, we choose this line and we change it to that type of line. You can see that uh, it's a very dense line formation. Now maybe you wanted it to be a little bit spaced out. So how do you do that? You edit its line type scale. And you can change this through the property because there is a line type scale inside of here. So you can change it. Right now it's set to 1. You can change it to, let's say, 10. And then instantly you can see that the reaction of a 10 times line type is so much more dramatic, but it's too big. So let's put it back a little bit, maybe some more. This is a multiplicative value, so that's why the effect is so apparent. But this is not the command per se. This is a property of this line, and it doesn't affect any of the other lines because it's a property that we assign to this line only. There is a global line type scale control, LTS. You can see that the line type scale factor for the entire drawing right now is 1 is 1. If we change this, for example, let's say we want the line type scale factor to be 10, you can see that the this line, which has a line type scale of 2 before, is now displaying differently from the line type scale of uh, 10 that we tried earlier. So let's put it back. Let's set the line type scale to 1 and then try this at 10 for this line. So you can see that here we still have 2 dots, but when we change the line type scale to 10 earlier and we had this at 2, we only had 1 dot. That's because this multiplies to that. So the global line type scale multiplies to the line type scale of individual entities. So you need to be wary of that. A good rule of thumb is whatever scale you're using for your drawing, that is what you want the line type scale to be for most of your drawing. Because clearly, if you try and do details on the same modeling space, you'll need to modify either the line type scale of the items within that area or shift it to another file and modify the global line type scale on that. So there's plenty of workarounds here in AutoCAD. So that's the 12 minutes we have for now, and I will see you guys again. Take care. Bye bye.